Hey guys, thank you so much for meeting me here again today. I'm really grateful to have you as a part of my tribe, and I'm grateful to be a part of yours. And today what I want to bring to you is visual tracking problems or eye tracking problems. They seem to be really prevalent, and there's a lot to be known about them, and there's a lot that you can do. So make sure to stay tuned till the end, and I will be giving you 3 specific exercises, maybe 4, that you can do to help yourself or your kids with eye tracking problems, okay? What is normal eye tracking? So when the vision is normal and healthy, then your eyes are going to move automatically, very smoothly, accurately, and quickly. So it's really an essential part of good vision. Now, eye tracking, visual tracking, is considered the fine motor skill of vision. So it's essential for healthy vision, but it's also essential for good reading and writing. If you or your kids are having eye tracking problems, then what you might notice is that their eye movements would be kind of slow, inaccurate, unreliable, and even just kind of jumpy. I'm trying to do it, but I don't think I can make my eyes do it because I've done so many of the exercises myself. Now, oh well, so much for a demo, right? Now, you can actually have 20/20 vision. You can go to the optometrist and have 20/20 vision and still have visual tracking problems because eye tracking is not a part of the normal test. An optometrist can give you a visual or eye tracking test, and so can a speech therapist because they work with language-based disorders and it affects reading and writing. And so can an occupational therapist because they work with clients that have had traumatic brain injuries and concussions that also have the eye tracking problems. So those 3 people, those 3 professionals, your speech therapists, your occupational therapists, and your optometrists should all be able to test you if you suspect that you have an issue or you want formal visual tracking training as opposed to just doing some exercises. Another interesting fact is that children do not outgrow visual tracking problems. Now, it is a skill, it is an ability, and you can improve it with exercises. But you do have to have some kind of mediation in order to make those changes because if you don't, they won't outgrow them automatically. Now, you might be wondering, what are some signs and symptoms of visual tracking problems or eye tracking problems that you can kind of look out for? Well, a really big one, a real common one that we see all the time is when kids are losing their place when they're reading. Like they've literally forgot what word they're on. You're like, how can you forget what word you just read to me? But they forget what word they're on. They forget what line they're on. Their eyes are jumping around randomly, and so they're not even completing sentences. They might skip a word. They might skip a line. They might put the front of one sentence to the back of another sentence. They may do a sentence on this line and connect it to a sentence 3 lines down. And of course, it doesn't make any sense at all, and that's why their reading comprehension is really poor too. Poor reading comprehension is one of the symptoms of poor visual tracking because they can't put it together. They can't make sense of it because it doesn't make sense. You know, you're doing the hodgepodge of sentences like we used to do with the feet and heads of animals, and they're doing it with sentences. So of course they can't put it together. So another symptom is when kids would confuse one word for another or even guess at a word or maybe use a word that's really similar. They might say large where it's actually written big because since their eyes are bouncing around throughout the paragraph, they're basically jumping forward and backward and kind of trying to put together a picture in their head. and they're using context clues to help them. And so they'll come up with words that are similar, but aren't the word that's written on the page. And so you'll see that and wonder, why did you even say large? Large is a harder word to read than big, and big is what's written there. But it's because it fit and their eyes just bounced around. So they didn't actually read the word. They just kind of guessed at the word. Another big symptom is finger reading, when they absolutely have to take their book, and that is part of one of the trainings. Actually, you teach them how to track this way, but after a while they shouldn't have to do it. So if they have to finger read, or they have to use a card going down the book to keep their place in line and to keep their line in paragraph, then that's another sign of visual tracking issues. So you have to follow up on that one. One we talked about a little bit in the losing your place and confusing is actually just skipping words altogether. So when they're reading, they're skipping a lot of words. And that's why they're guessing to try to make it make sense. But they're skipping words like a, the, at, is, as, am, all the little words, the little articles, things like that. They just drop those off. They don't even see them. To them, they're really just not there. They don't see them because they didn't read word for word. They just jumped around back and forth and pieced together a sentence. They also lose the endings of words like ing, running, runner. So runner and running could be all run. No matter what the sentence really said, run is what they read. That part just got lost somewhere in the skipping around. Another symptom is that kids can read on flashcards. If you do a flashcard and you do a word real fast for them, hey, this word, and then this word, and then this word, they can get it. They can read those words like that. But then when you have them read a sentence, they're lost. So they can read every one of those words individually on a flashcard, but all of a sudden you put them together and they can't read it. And you're like, that doesn't make sense. You know how to read every one of these words. Why can't you just read them in a line? Well, that's visual tracking, right? So that also shows up when they're taking tests, when they can read the words very quickly individually, but then when they have to read a passage, their reading fluency and their reading comprehension scores are going to be really, really low. Another symptom that you might see is general clumsiness. I mean, literally, visual tracking issues, eye tracking problems are not just reading the words on a page. They're also seeing the distance between you and the car in front of you, between you and the curb, between you and the sidewalk, between you and the wall you're walking beside. You're looking at a lot of things and your eyes are bouncing around. And if their visual tracking or eye tracking is poor, they might walk into that wall. They might trip over that curb. They might trip over their own feet, right? Because it's just like that eye-hand coordination isn't there. So it makes sense that their body coordination, their eye-body coordination isn't going to be either. So a general sense of clumsiness would show up. They can squint a lot when they're reading. They're kind of like, moving their head around. I need to be able to see this better. And that's just making up for the fact that they have poor eye tracking. So if you see them doing that, that's what you might be seeing, especially if you've already done a vision test and you've ruled out actual vision issues with, 20/20 vision. So another symptom is difficulty writing, because of course writing is the same thing as reading except written down, and they have an issue with that tracking skill and the eye-hand development. So of course that's going to be difficult. They have a really big problem copying. So if they're trying to copy something from the board, maybe they need to write their homework assignment down from the board to their notebook that they take home every day, and they just can't seem to manage that. And you've had to ask the teacher just to email you because you're not getting it. Or they can't copy from a book. So you lay a book down beside them and say, copy this sentence out of the book, and they can't do that. That's visual tracking usually. Oddly enough, another one is just like getting really exhausted when they're reading. So when these kids, or ourselves as well, are reading, they get really tired. Like, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a couple of pages. You would think, well, you can handle your homework assignment. It's only 3 pages or 20 minutes of reading. But it wears their little brains out because of the fact that their eyes are not going one after the other. They're bouncing around, bouncing around, and bouncing around, and bouncing around. They're piecing it together here and piecing it together there. And then by the time they've read a couple paragraphs, they're more out. They're already tired. So they do get honestly exhausted trying to read. Another one people don't often think about is attention problems and behavioral problems that are tied to visual tracking and eye tracking issues. And it makes sense when you think about it. If the assignment is to sit and read for 20 minutes, and this is just almost downright painful for somebody that has eye tracking issues, that they're not going to read on their own. It's just too difficult. It's just not worth it. And then they're told they have to. Well, they're going to find anything else they can. Getting in trouble is better than having to sit and read for 20 minutes. Going in your room, sitting at the table, going sitting in the corner of the classroom, whatever. It's better than having to read for 20 minutes because it's just hard for these kids. So remember that behavior is language. And if you see a child acting out during reading assignments, especially, or any close vision work. So a lot of math is going to be close vision work too. Anywhere that you really have to look and follow, and definitely math is going to be the same way, then when you see them acting out during those types of activities, then that is going to be an eye tracking issue or a visual tracking issue that you're probably looking at. So you may have suspected this already, but did you know that there is a proven connection between visual tracking problems and ADD, ADHD? Yep. In a recent peer-reviewed scientific study at Tel Aviv University in Israel, researchers found strong evidence that involuntary eye movements are an indicator for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The results of this study found a direct correlation between ADHD and the inability to control eye movement. On the subject of eye tracking, eye movements, and ADHD, optometrists have always stated that eye movements were linked to reduced attention. So they kind of already knew that if kids couldn't focus their eyes in one place, that there might be an ADHD issue or an ADD issue back there somewhere. So that was already something going around, but now they're doing studies that actually did prove that that's the case. Yay, you stayed. I promised you that if you stayed till the end, I would give you some really great exercises that you can do for yourself or for your kids to improve visual tracking. And I got the goods, guys. I got the goods. So yay you that you waited. All right, there are 3 key skills that you can improve that are going to improve visual tracking, okay? The first skill is fixation. Fixation is a tracking skill of sustained and steady gaze required for visual attention and recall. So, memory. It's tied to their visual memory. So fixation is the ability to look at something and have visual attention. So I don't just have one, but I have 2 visual attention exercises to teach you that will help with fixation, okay? So I have right here a tack stuck in a pencil. You could use a pencil with a pencil eraser or, like a marker like this with a lid, just something that has a distinct difference at the top so that you can watch your child's eyes, okay? So you're going to hold it about a foot away from their face, and you're going to move it up and down and right and left, and you're going to watch their eyes very carefully because you're going to watch and see if their eyes dart away and back, because they will. After about 5 seconds, you'll see their eyes dart and come back, dart and come back. And you'll have to start over again. So this is how it would look. Okay, so see this tack in the top of this pencil? What I want you to do, without moving your head, keep your head very still. I want you to keep your eyes on that tack. Don't look away. Don't look anywhere else. Just keep looking at this tack for the entire time, as long as you can, okay? Ready? And then when you see their eyes dart and come back, and it'll be really quick. So you might be 5 seconds into the exercise when you see their eyes dart away and back. Stop at that moment and say, oh, that was good, but I saw that you took your eyes off of it. Hold on, let me see. You've got a little timer going beside you, and you write it down. Okay, so this time we did 5 seconds. That was really good. 5 seconds is good. All right, let's see if we can beat that score. Ready? We're going to do the exercise again. Don't take your eyes off the tack this time, okay? And then do the exercise again with the timer going, watching their eyes. And as soon as you see their eyes dart off and back, then you're like, oh, wow, that was good. Looks like you made it 15 seconds this time. Awesome work. And then do it one more time. And then that'll be it for the day. Just do it 3 times and be done for the day. And that way they won't be stressed out. It literally probably won't take a whole minute to do it 3 times. But your goal is to get your student to look at that tack for over a minute. Not to take his eyes off of it. To completely follow it constantly for that whole minute. That is visual attention. Now, you can teach them, let's see, right here. There's a freebie on my website that you can download that gives you the directions, okay? So this is called Ninja Eye Training, and it's almost the same thing except they do it themselves. So what they're going to do is they're going to put their hand straight out in front of them, pointing up, and they can see their own fingernail. So they're going to look at their own fingernail, and they're going to not take their eyes off of it, and now they're going to make circles. They're just going to do like 10 circles. You do 10 circles that way, or 10 circles that way, but do 10 circles. And have them count out 10 circles. Okay? And the idea is to do it 10 times when you do it, 10 circles, which won't even take a minute, 10 times a day for 10 days. So you just record it. After that, you'll start seeing some really big improvements. Again, that's a really small investment. That's maybe 10 minutes a day at most for 10 days to see a dramatic change in their eye tracking ability just because they've done the fixation exercises. So the next skill that you want to build for visual tracking is called pursuit. And pursuit is the coordinated eye movements essential for following a moving target. And that's what's essential for reading and writing because the words are basically moving, right? You're moving down the page. And that's what's necessary for eye-hand coordination. So I showed you 2 exercises for the first one, fixation. Now I'll show you 2 exercises for this one. This is another freebie from my website. It's actually part of a book that I've published for therapists and teachers and parents called Visual Tracking Exercises. But there's an 8-page freebie. So you can get it off my website. I just print the pages off, stick them in a sleeve, and use a dry erase marker. And then you basically have them start at the beginning of the line. Let's see, this one is vowels. Have them start at the beginning of the line and move as if they were reading a book from left to right, top to bottom. And on this one, vowels, they would just mark off the vowels. So you just, as they see a vowel, they'd mark it off with their marker and just keep moving. And they don't stop. Don't go backwards. Don't try to catch one that you missed. Literally, you want them going across the page as quickly as possible. So it's meant to be done over and over and over again. They don't do every exercise in the book and it's done. You literally do the exercise over and over again to get faster, smoother, more accurate every single time you do it. And then like on this one, it's B's because, of course, B's, D's, P's, Q's, 6's, 9's, the things that kids get mixed up are going to be some of the things that are in this book, of course, and in the freebie. And so like this one is a bunch of B's with other letters, and they literally just have to find them. It says there's 6 in each row. So they could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down the page. Okay, so that's exercise number 1 for the moving target, basically for the visual tracking. And that book alone, even if you didn't do all the other exercises, really makes a huge difference. We've been using it in our therapy office for years and years and years. All right, so now the eye-hand coordination part of Pursuit, right? Are all the little hand games that I do, the brain training games that I do, the hemispheric integration games that I do. You ready? Train your brain. And what am I showing you? One of the games. This is one of the hand games. So it's shoot the thumb. And a lot of people are familiar with this. And you're just pointing at the thumb, basically. But I called it shoot the thumb because I don't know. This is eye-hand coordination too. They're focusing. They have to see, right? That's one of them. In fact, I have a video that has 5 hand synchronization ones. So you might want to play that one and have them practice that too, because that's going to be the same skill. That's the Pursuit skill. So you want them to do this exercise and the hand exercises, or even the hand games with their friends. You know, if you remember those from when you were a kid. Okay, so there's one more skill that we really need to work on in order to improve eye tracking or visual tracking, and that is SAKAD. And SAKAD is the precise eye movement moving from one target to another, so moving from there to there. And so this is really important in reading. All right, here's an easy enough exercise. Ideally, you could put these on a board in front of the kids, you know, like on a bulletin board or a wall. You put it out about a foot apart, okay? Facing them though, of course. And then their eye is to go, both eyes together. So go to the first card, go to A, and focus. Stay there long enough to focus, then have them go to B, focus. A, focus. B, focus. And to move back and forth between them, but to stay there long enough to be able to focus on it first. So don't just dart back and forth and just be doing some crazy erratic eye movement. We do that without having any exercises. That's what we're trying to fix. So what you want them to do is literally just one at a time. Focus on each one at a time, moving back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And you just want to do this one for a couple minutes, 1 minute a day. Okay, so let's summarize these exercises. I've given you five exercises that don't take any time at all that you can do with your child. This is the first one. This one literally takes 1 minute a day, right? Then do the visual tracking with them, which might take 5 minutes a day. And then do the SAKAD exercise with them that takes 1 minute a day. So that's 5 to 7 minutes that you're working with them a day. And then remember to have them do the following the fingernail one, 10 circles, 10 times a day for 10 days, the 10-10-10 rule, right? 10 circles, 10 times a day for 10 days. That's on them. Tell them to get it done. And tell them to do some of these hand exercises. You know, look at the other video for it. So, all right, guys. So I have given you 5 easy exercises that just take a couple minutes a day. Everything is free. There's nothing to go out and buy. You can do all of it. The downloads on my website are free. The exercises are already posted on my YouTube channel. So get your kids involved or do it yourself. You owe it to yourself, definitely, to make your life easier by fixing an eye tracking problem or a visual tracking problem. So guess what? When I have doctors, and I do, that come and want to learn to read over 1,000 words a minute This is what I use with them. I teach them speed reading by doing visual tracking exercises with them. A little bonus. Thank you guys for meeting with me here today. I'm really grateful for you. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, write them down in the comments. Other people want to know your questions, and I will be glad to answer them in any way that I can. See you later, guys.